Palate to Palate with Robert St. John and Wyatt Waters is made possible by a generous contribution from Sanderson Farms. Additional funding is provided by this and other public television stations, and from viewers like you. Thank you.
We would like to say we're appreciative, even though we're at the Grammy Museum, we're proud to have been nominated for an Emmy for our TV show.
Yes. What?
Oh, it appears we weren't nominated for an Emmy for our TV show, but at least I'm proud to have been nominated for a James Beard Award for culinary artistry.
I think it was the beard.
Oh. Really? I wasn't nominated for a James Beard Award either, so we're just grateful to be here.
It's all about the music.
So day 2 of the Magical Mississippi Tour, we've got 40 people on a bus. We're starting every day with Bloody Marys and mimosas. We're ending every day with live music, and in between is nothing but Mississippi music, culture, art, and good times. Every night ended with live music, but every day began with breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast, yeah.
Day 1 breakfast, our good friend Martha Foose from Greenwood.
I'm so excited for the Mississippi Mystery Tour. I think you could not have better fellas to show you around, and a good hijink team, and we're all in favor of hijinks. You're still following these guys around?
And we had an awesome breakfast, and she talked to us a lot about kind of Delta culture and stuff.
She's the gal.
You're in for a treat because she is a Delta gem, and she's going to talk to us a little bit. She's not going to be able to ride the bus. She was telling me while everybody was coming in, and it has something to do with the police, so I'm sure there's a good story there too. But she's going to tell us some stories.
You know, it's hard to plan a trip through the Delta because stuff is either open or on fire. You know, there's not like much of a mid-range, so I'm glad that everything's open and we're not on fire.
And you're related.
We are in 2-3 different ways, and she always wears Converse shoes with her nice print Mississippi dress.
Our kind of girl.
And we went over there and I made him a grit souffle, and I got a free apartment in Paris for 6 months on the strength of a grit souffle. So don't leave home without grits in your suitcase.
So Martha chose Fan and Johnny's, her friend Taylor Bowen Ricketts restaurant, who was a James Beard nominee. Fried quail. It's what's for breakfast. Yeah, we had quail for breakfast.
Thanks for letting me feed you.
Quail and grits, very Delta. So while we were inside eating breakfast, Wyatt, as he is wont to do, was outside missing the meal, painting.
Doing the starving artist thing. I was working on a painting. Outside the door of the restaurant, I was looking down into Cotton Row and painting the cotton exchange, where at one time, the price for a cotton was established right there. We just travel around the state, finding good stuff to eat, good stuff to paint, and some people with good stories. Yes, we do. Greenwood, my understanding is this is where cotton is traded here. And you can go in there. I'd done this in the past, and there was like a Coca-Cola machine, but there weren't Cokes in there. There were other beverages in there that probably fit the exchange of cotton and the social gathering part of that.
We don't do breakfast too much, but when we do, we make sure it's worth it. I'm the chef here, and we're so excited for them to see Greenwood and all that we have to offer today.
Yeah, so that was great. We had a little Delta breakfast, Taylor Ricketts. We had fried quail, we had cheese grits, we had curried pineapple, really, really good, and we had Martha Foose.
And I had Robert and John and Wyatt.
She's my favorite Delta friend. Let's go see what Wyatt did.
Oh, got it.
we were winding up breakfast, and I wanted to go check on Wyatt and see how the painting was coming. But it may have been my favorite. I love that painting.
Where are your little elves that help you do this?
Oh, they're invisible.
pocket?
They're invisible.
Okay.
But they're there.
It's a great alleyway shot with the sign and
Good morning.
yeah. It was very Mississippi Delta painting, and you were on your game this whole trip.
Cotton Row. We're about done with this.
I would never tell my double cousin what to do.
Y'all, the only person that will be featured in 2 seasons of Palate to Palette is Martha Foose. She was in the first season, actually one of the first episodes we filmed.
Next time we'll take y'all to see the giant underpants, but it's a little much for your first visit.
If you haven't seen that episode or not, Wyatt and I got in Martha's panties, as we could say. But they weren't really Martha's, they were Murray Cornfield's. Martha introduced us to Murray, and we could use only about 8% of what we filmed with him. It was, MPB kept cutting. No, we can't use that. No, we can't use that.
My name is Terry Jordan. Just on this mystery tour, magical mystery tour with Robert St. John. He said, come take a ride with me, and I said, sure. Good food, good drinks, good fun. So that's why I'm here. Good times.
So our bellies were full of quail eggs and mimosas and quail and grits, and you, as you are wont to do, finished the painting right on time, and you had a tightened timeline, and you delivered. So we all piled on the bus, all 40 of us. The mimosas were flowing.
Thanks again, and bye, and have a safe trip. I hope you packed your elastic waist pants, because y'all got some miles to cover.
We crossed the river that we had crossed only about 18 hours earlier, headed into a surprise that we got, and we're on our way for a couple of more surprises. They rolled out the red carpet for us at the Grammy Museum. The only other Grammy Museum in the world is in Los Angeles, so there are 2. Los Angeles, California, Cleveland, Mississippi.
It's really appropriate considering how many artists we've produced here.
Yeah.
But I think this really puts a spotlight on it and lets Mississippians know it as well.
Well, American music started, you can give jazz to New Orleans. Jazz was invented in New Orleans, no doubt about it. The blues came from Mississippi, in the Mississippi Delta, and if you go just a little east and you believe Muddy Waters when he said the blues had a baby and they named the baby rock and roll, and I believe that, then Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, is from Tupelo, Mississippi. You go just a little further south and there's Jimmy Rogers, father of country music. America's music comes from Mississippi, so the only place to put a satellite of the Grammy Museum is in Mississippi. And the best place for that is in Cleveland.
Mississippi has more Grammy winners per capita than any other state, and that's why we're right here.
This is a crown jewel to have this facility in the South. It's the only other one, if I'm not mistaken. There's one in LA and one here?
Yes. One
That's
here,
it.
and then I think they could be building another somewhere, but not in the city.
We're not going to talk about it. LA and here. That's it.
So there is a wonderful legacy today that you guys are going to get to explore in our Mississippi Gallery here in just a few moments throughout the museum.
We were at the Grammy Museum, and Robert and I got to have a great time there, and people really got into this. It was, music always has that way of pulling people together and getting the interest going.
Yeah. You never know when you're traveling with a group, and we've done it a good bit now over the last 2 or 3 years. But the beautiful thing, and I think this is universal, at least with every group we've traveled with so far, is everyone starts out, for the most part, everyone are total strangers. But within a matter of a day or two, there are these friendships that are made, and everybody gets a little more loose and a little more comfortable, and that happened like on the second day of this trip and the first morning. people, got into the museums now are so interactive. At least these in Mississippi are. There were, you could play the drums and people were playing guitar. There were people on the keyboards, and so they bring the total music experience that should be done, which is a Grammy Museum.
You get to play guitar, you get to play drums, you get to play organ, piano, and we probably had 4 or 5 bands on the bus with us. When you think about it, we were on a great tour bus.
Yeah. A tour bus.
On the road again.
I would like to take this moment to thank all the people that made this moment possible.
And so it's this interactive experience that puts you in the music, and it makes the experience so much more meaningful when you understand what's involved in this thing. And that's a great facility. It's a crown jewel for Cleveland. It's a crown jewel for Mississippi, and only the second Grammy Museum in the whole country.
I didn't know you could play the drums. I knew you played the guitar, but I did not know you could play the drums.
No,
you got the beat, man.
I can bang around. I can bang on the drums, and I can bang a little on the piano. I play a little more guitar. That's about it.
Well, you were a drummer that day.
Okay.
Music makes you want to do a lot of things, but the thing it most makes you want to do is dance. And there's a place where you can dance.
Yeah.
You can move to the music anyway. I'm not much of a dancer, but I was that day too. See?
I've got a storied history with dancing. I'm a teetotaler. I stopped drinking and other recreational activities in 1983, more than 35 years ago. And up until that time, I thought I was a pretty good dancer. But when I stopped drinking, I learned I am not a good dancer at all. I did not want to dance that day. Somebody, the man over there behind the camera, made me get on the thing and dance. I did not want to dance. I don't even want to see. I'm not going to watch the episode when I dance. I'm just telling you, when it comes on, I'm going to turn my head away. I don't want to watch myself dance. I can't dance. I could do this if I didn't have tennis shoes on.
I could do this if I was 20.
I was a DJ in the disco era. I had to play that music. And I did dances. I traveled around. I was a DJ at dances and stuff.
Play that funky music?
Yeah, but once I sobered up, man, I learned I'm not a dancer. I'm just not. Some people got it, some people don't.
I'm James Beige.
So the Grammy Museum is located right across the street from Delta State University. Our friend Nance Anders, she and her husband Mike live there in Cleveland and are largely responsible for a lot that goes on there. They won't tell you that. They're very humble, modest people. But Nan also is one of the main reasons there's that beautiful sculpture garden.
I love that, yeah.
And people on our trip didn't know there was a sculpture garden. Most of them didn't even know there was a Grammy Museum in Cleveland, and since we were keeping everything a mystery on our Magical Mississippi tour, they didn't know we were going to the Grammy Museum. We did have a few challenges though, because I wanted Nan to talk to our guest about that sculpture garden that she's been so instrumental in putting there. But the one thing we didn't plan on was the bus navigating through the parking lot of the Bologna Center there, and it was a little bit of a challenge.
Like an orca going through an aquarium or something, but we made it though.
We did make it, barely. If that's the worst thing that's going to happen in your day, not so bad. We had started the day, you had done a great painting, we had breakfast, so there's art, there's food. We took care of music and sculpture while we're in Cleveland. So next on the list is pottery.
That's right.
And if you're talking about pottery in the Mississippi Delta,
you're talking about Merigold, you're talking about Lee and Pup.
That's right. Lee and Pup, our great friends, God rest their souls, both of them, were true Mississippians, true Deltans, and our good friends. We'd stayed with them a lot up there and hung out at their home, and we wanted our guests to not only go to McCarty Pottery, but to go to their tea room. There are all these little hidden places in Mississippi that we wanted to turn our guests on to. It's the places you and I have discovered over the years. We're going behind the scenes, and it's places that 9 times out of 10, maybe 99 times out of 100, someone would drive by. The McCarty Tea Room is one of those places. First, you'd have to find Merigold.
Yeah.
Then you would have to find the tea room. And the way McCarty does his fencing and everything, you know, you just wouldn't find this place.
And in the tea room, there was a connection to what we've done in the past in Italy. There was a poster of the horse that won the Palio
right
in Siena.
Yeah. So here's this out-of-the-way place. McCarty had so many people coming to buy pottery from Memphis or Birmingham and Little Rock, but they were in Merigold and there was just no place to eat, so they started this little tea room.
This is an oasis in a soybean field. This
Yeah.
is great.
That's exactly right. And so he came here, I think in the 50s, and started throwing pots. I mean, nobody, knew where they were, whatever, set up this huge business now where people come from all over to buy McCarty Pottery. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago. Pup, his wife, passed away a couple of years before that. But they were true Delta characters and true Delta artists. The tomato dish, years ago when I was working on I think it was my second cookbook, Deep South Staples, after our first one, I wanted to put those tomatoes in the book. They serve it, I think he calls them Merigold tomatoes. I said, I want that recipe. And most of the times I can get a recipe if I ask for it. Sometimes people leave an ingredient out or something, and he would not send me the recipe. He would not send me the recipe. And we were good friends. I mean, this was clear. He wasn't going to share the recipe. And so we worked on the recipe. Then you'll see there are 3 versions of it.
Yeah.
Every time, but actually each one of the versions of that dish were really good. And so we did all 3 in the book.
In Mississippi, there's not a whole lot of difference between musicians and artists, and everybody does a little bit of everything. We're all, a lot of us were raised in the church where music's a huge thing, and so Anthony was with us, and we all just said, hey, bless us with a number, Anthony.
Anthony is the director of our TV show. He's behind the camera there right now. Because Anthony was in gospel bands and toured around, and he's a multi-talented guy. He can play the bass, he can sing tenor, and play the
gospel
piano.
tenor, which is its own kind of tenor.
And one of those impromptu moments that we do in this Palate to Palette situation, you never know what's going to happen. Asked Anthony to get up and do a little song for us. He did, and it was a perfect addition to the lunch there.
Yes, I agree with you.
Wyatt said that he heard that the only difference between blues and gospel was Saturday night and Sunday morning.
For our newcomers, thank y'all as well. We hope y'all come back real soon.
It was a great meal, but Jill told a story also about something she'd bought there.
Yeah, my wife Jill has a lot of McCarty pottery all around the house, and we would all go stay with Lee and Pup over the years and be with Stephen and Jamie and their wives. And one day we were walking outside through the gardens at McCarty Pottery, and there were these massive big urns. I mean, they were big urns. And Jill asked Lee McCarty about those, and he said, oh, those are importance urns. And she said, what? And said, what's in it? But he said, oh yeah, when the boys were young, anytime they would come home from school that they did something good, and he lifted the pot and he said, Jamie got good grades today, and he'd close it back up, or he'd say, I love you, and he'd close it back up. And the important things were all stored in there like that. She was eating out of his hand. She was like, she ordered 2 on the spot, and these things were big, expensive pieces.
And then the next years later, we were here, and we were walking around with Lee, and I said, Robert got me those importance urns. I love those. And he said, what? He made that whole story up.
And then I explained to him, he said, oh, yeah, those are the some. I don't remember what they were.
But they weren't important.
But no. But for that moment, when Lee told Jill that story, they were important urns.
Very Lee.
And and she bought two. He was a character. He was a true Mississippi jewel.
Wonderfully eccentric people.
Yeah. So we're doing afternoon snacks every day. And so first day snack, Pettifors from Campbell's Bakery.
Best.
Yeah. Day number 2, Martha Foose had made ham pies, which is a very Delta thing, very Southern thing. We had those on the bus. And the thing is, people were really stuffed. We had a huge breakfast. We had a great lunch at McCarty, but they still ate the ham pies.
This is like camp, where we're going to take a little nap and maybe have a little snack.
Yeah.
We did the same thing on this bus.
Yeah,
it was really
that's right.
like camp for adults.
And dinner was to come.
Yeah.
So we headed to Oxford on the bus. I was a little worried because we were a little behind schedule. We had stayed a little too long at McCarty Pottery because some ladies, namely my wife, took a little too much time, spent money. But we headed through the Delta as the sun was starting to get low. I was really worried. So we checked into the Graduate Hotel very fast, very quickly. The Oxford CVB was there to welcome us. They gave us goodie bags.
Welcome to Oxford, Mississippi. We are glad to have everybody here in our great town with all our cultural diversity that we have, from food to art to music and more.
We're scrambling to get Wyatt ready. He's about to head out with 11 other artists, and they're going to paint, I believe, on the square.
Yep. A view towards sunset with the courthouse in the background. It was a fun day, and everybody painted around me. It was a great time. Enjoy the mistakes. And embrace your mistakes. Don't worry about getting everything right. Look twice, paint once. We didn't really plan on getting there then, but since we were a little bit later in the day, it was a great sunset, and so that became the subject of the painting with the courthouse in the background. It worked out well, even though it wasn't the way it was planned. It's a mystery. How's it going to work out? We don't know. We'll find out. Don't give up on yourself so early. You're an embryo at this point.
So you had started the day under a little bit of adverse conditions, timing-wise, and you ended the day with another painting, 2 paintings in one day, with sun almost gone.
And this is how we do a painting in Oxford, Mississippi, as the light leaves us. In Mississippi, painting here is like, it's like going home all the time. It's like seeing the place that I grew up with through different eyes. That's what painting does for me. I'm able to look at the stuff with fresh eyes that I've known all my whole life. A lot of these things I painted here on this trip were things I knew already, but I rediscovered it in a deeper way. It's like you're peeling the onion back, but it gets sweeter when you peel it back. You see something about it you didn't know.
So typically I like to come watch you paint a little bit, see how it's going, kind of get the feel of what you're doing. This time I was not able to do that because I was doing some top secret undercover work that you will have to wait until episode 3 until you see what we did. But
cliffhanger.
Everybody kept saying you're not going to be able to top this, you're not going to be able to top this. Stay tuned for next week.
Many of the paintings seen on today's program are featured in the A Mississippi Palette cookbook. This beautiful volume also includes Mississippi heritage recipes. A Mississippi Palette cookbook. Palate to Palette with Robert St. John and Wyatt Waters is made possible by a generous contribution from Sanderson Farms. Additional funding is provided by this and other public television stations. And from viewers like you. Thank you.